Okay. Dang it. Here's the title. Here we go. There we go. Now we are live, Bina. Now we are live. Now we are live. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. All right. So what we are doing is continuing from where we have been, what we did last week. Last week we did modules 1 to 4. We're going over the curriculum of Way of Impeccability. And this week we're going to do modules 5 to 8 and go into the details of it again. But what I want to add before I get started on that is that we are going to also, I'm going to share at the end of this, I'm going to share what I want to do in group, which is I want to do one of my other programs, and it's a program that can stand on its own. Many of them, they sort of require, not 100%, but it's most helpful to do Way of Impeccability first. This one does not need that. So as a result, this is something that can stand alone, and that's really a huge deal. And I want to do it in such a way that anybody can do this. It will be free and open to anybody. And we'll do it here on live, and we'll share in group, and it'll be something that anybody in group can participate in. And even if you're not participating, you can participate in the participation of those taking the group, right? So this is a huge deal. And again, all of what I've been saying will be demonstrated, will be illustrated in detail. All right, Bina, are you seeing us live, right? I am. I'm assuming you are as well. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now we are live, and hello and welcome everyone. This is going to be another really profound and interesting session. And thank you so much, sir, for sharing. And of course, thank you so much for sharing such an amazing opportunity too for the free course.
Yes, brilliant, brilliant. Any of the people who said they're coming, I'd just like to say hello to them. So have they come yet?
They are. Yeah, no, not yet, but they are coming. So
okay.
Yes.
All right. I've got one more thing to do. I'm just pinning it to the top, and pinning it to featured and all that. That's kind of important. I can't share it to my page. Can you, Bina? Can you share it to Nobelia? If you click share to a page.
Share is here.
Ah, brilliant. Hello, Sher. Hello, Sher. Again, Sher, as always, you're more than welcome to come on Zoom itself. But, of course, you're going to come when we do the course. For now, really, it's more me just going through the things, not so much discussion. But we can always, as we know from all the Zoom sessions we do, we always get into discussions and takeaways and moreness no matter what. So you're more than welcome to come join us if you feel like chatting and discussing a bit. It's always fun. Yes. So feel free. Brilliant. Okay, so let me screen share, and then let's get started, and we'll show that video. So very cool. Cool.
For that, I cannot share it on any page. So I
cannot there's something wrong with Facebook's sharing. Before I couldn't even see that. I couldn't even see the share to a page option. But now at least it's there, but still, I can share it to my other page, but not to Nobelia. That's interesting. You can't share to any page, yes?
Yes.
Wow, okay. That's pretty wild. All right, here we go. Do screen share. And this is what we covered last week. See, Sher's coming to join us. Brilliant. Fantastic show. I'm glad you're here. Sure. Wonderful. Good deal. Sure can't hear
Share
us.
your
We got
audio. Okay. Yes.
Yes, we
Hello,
got to
Shiv.
say all
Hello.
that again. Wonderful that you here. So I was getting all excited, but you see, if you repeat a greeting for me, it's never quite the same energy. I've got to hold it in until the audio connects. Because now when I say hello, sir, it's like it's not quite the same. You know, you know, it's
Yes.
fascinating to me. I can't do that. You know, like the second time, it
Yes.
just doesn't have the same energy. It's very
It's
important.
okay. It's okay. Good
Brilliant.
morning. Hi,
Good
guys.
Good
morning. Good
morning. Good
morning.
morning,
Good
Shiv.
morning. Good
Okay, sir.
morning. Good morning. I'm glad you're joining us, Sure. I'm glad you're joining us. So please, sure, you know, of course, from before, but I just want to make it clear for anybody watching or listening that part of when we go through things like this, I'm about to say to Sure that jump in any time. Of course, you know, Bina and Sher both know this. But you looking there might say, wow, that's kind of rude. They're just interrupting. So no, this I'm asking them to interrupt and jump in. When something grabs Sher or Bina or something comes up and it's like, oh yes, that reminds me, whatever. This is part of our interactivity. And if I carry on going, by the time there's a natural pause because I'm going through things in, you know, that's been written out and it may be, you know, a long time. By that time, the point isn't relevant anymore. It's lost or you've forgotten. Your mind is on something else. So the interruption here is very important. And for me personally, I'm never bothered by interruption. I can always pick up where I left off. It's totally not an issue. And even, you know, if it's like really halfway through a point, so what? I just gonna go over that point and it's just emphasis again. So you know, it's not that they're being rude or not. No, in this case, it's absolutely necessary. And you'll see it's not a negative or a rude thing. Right? You guys know how this works. So I just want to say it that in case I'm looking out for you, sure, that people don't think you're rude when you jump in and say things. Right?
Oh,
So, no, it's
yeah.
not rude. It's not rude. All right. So this was last week, modules 1 to 4. We went through all of them, and we're going to continue here on module 5.
Mhm.
Emphasis and self-talk. All right. So, sure, let me ask you before I get started. What exactly have you been emphasizing lately?
Wow. Okay. What am I not emphasizing?
Yes,
Um,
exactly. But in particular, your last
in
post,
particular,
you were
okay.
emphasizing.
Yeah. I letting go,
Okay.
anxiety, letting go of fear. I've been
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to emphasize for my own self, deliberately being aware of where my fears are, where my anxiety is coming from, what's underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
And that is creating enormous amounts of shifting. So,
yes, yes, but I want to emphasize something here that yes, you're doing that, but you were actually focusing on emphasizing choice and
choice.
responsibility.
Well,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, because we can't really emphasize a negative. It doesn't work, right? I can't emphasize what I want to get rid of because then I'm paying attention to it. And so
Okay.
that's not going to work. Yes?
Right, exactly. And
Wow.
that is something that's actually been sticking with me is trying to, you can't do it deliberately. I've tried. I can't
Exactly.
deliberately be anxious or worry.
Yes.
And I've
Yes.
been practicing at it and it's not coming.
No, no, exactly. So this is what we're going to be doing, the same course that Sher is doing now, which she's done, Way of Impeccability and Capital H Hearing and all sorts of other things. But she's doing a course which you might say, well, really, you know, you're doing this, but you've done all this other stuff. But this is the value that even though Sher has done a lot of stuff and she's also a coach, it now gives her a deeper inner perspective from both sides of the equation. And this is profound. But I want to elaborate on that point about emphasis because this is what that, you know, in this module, emphasis is one of the sessions. And this,
Yeah.
that we cannot emphasize the negative. We can't emphasize what we want to get rid of. We want to emphasize the replacement, which is what you've been emphasizing. You've been emphasizing choice, emphasizing responsibility, emphasizing choosing how you want to feel instead of, for instance, worry or anxiety. Right. And this was one little trick there, which I will go into it when we do that course, the one you're doing. Right. I don't want to go into the specifics too much of it, but just to
Right.
stay on emphasis. So emphasis is super, super, super important, right? Why? Why is emphasis important? All right. I'll just say my own answer here. Right.
Get
It
the
is
answer.
because emphasis, emphasis literally changes your brain. Right.
Yes.
Let me repeat that. Literally, I mean, your physical brain inside changes because of emphasis. The nodes expand, the connectivities connect more between the different nodes and the pathways and get enhanced and all sorts of stuff. Right. So this literally changes your brain. Why? Because emphasis, when you emphasize something, you're telling your brain, hey, brain, wake up, pay attention there. Hey, quit sleeping, get up, get up, get up. This is important. And the brain says, oh, like, oh, it's important, right? And because it's important, the brain now rewires to hold on to this importance, yes, to make it
Yes.
part of itself, not just to remember it, because memory is a different thing. But when the brain changes to build what you're emphasizing into itself in some way so that it holds on to it, because this is important, right? It adds to itself, it changes to bring this into you. So this is
Mhm.
why emphasis is so massively, massively huge. And you mentioned de-emphasis. Yes, de-emphasis is also important because your brain has got too much. There's too much stuff in your brain. Your brain is like a bureaucracy. Yes. Now, think of
Yes.
it like a bureaucracy. What happens in a bureaucracy? Everything gets filed, right?
Yeah.
Everything gets filed. Okay.
Mhm.
Emphasis puts it in the top secret, classified. Oh my God, panic mode, whatever, right? Okay. This is like huge. This is important. So in that filing, it's right there, close at hand, nearby. You can still see it. It's glowing. It's got sparks coming out of it, etc. Right? The filing system. But right, that screw that's in the corner of your wall over there, holding something up, whatever. You notice it, you can see it, but it's totally not important. So, well, it's got no emphasis. All right. Or maybe something that happened ages ago that was totally unimportant. Okay, 6 years ago, you went to the supermarket and you bought bread and you came home and nothing happened. All right. Do you have to remember this? No. But your bureaucracy, like any bureaucracy, they keep files on absolutely everything. Yes, this is what bureaucracies do. Now, those files that don't come up again, the less they get paid attention to. In other words, when the more they are de-emphasized, the further back they go in the filing system until eventually they end up in the basement. And this is very important, that basement gets full. And when it gets full, stuff gets thrown out. Okay.
Yep.
It's not being used, it gets thrown out. This is very important. So therefore, when I've got, an ex that I really like, seriously, what was I thinking? Come on now, de-emphasize that ex. The longer you keep that X important, the longer that X is going to stay in your brain. But the more you say, you de-emphasize now, the more you de-emphasize it, the closer that X ends up in the basement, and eventually they do, and they get gone. Now, this is very important to understand with de-emphasis. De-emphasis is different to ignoring, not the same thing, right?
Right.
As you know, right, when you were being ignored, like, when you got the silent treatment from your mom because you were bad and she was ignoring you, right?
Mhm.
That's a kind of attention. You knew your mom was ignoring you, yes? Or when you try and ignore a kid again that's trying to get your attention, the more you ignore them, the more they keep going because it's attention. So understand that ignoring is still an attention. De-emphasis is simply not paying attention. You're paying attention to other things, and you are saying, this is not important, right? So we have to understand both emphasis and de-emphasis. Now, look at the name of this module, right? It is emphasis and self-talk, two together. Why? Emphasis is so huge, but why have I combined it with self-talk? Module 1, critical self-talk and essential private positivity. Now, I'll get to the private positivity in a moment, but critical self-talk. Oh, I'm such a worry pot. Yeah. This makes me so anxious. Or like, man, whenever I see that stuff, the stuff on TV, and it makes me so mad. What are you doing when you say stuff like that? You are
Emphasizing.
making a statement about yourself. Number one, it's emphasis. Yes.
Mhm.
Number
Yep.
2, why is self-talk so particularly emphasizing? Because let me ask you, sir, are you a dishonest person? Are you a phony person? Inside.
No.
No, no, you're not. So if you say, I'm such a worry pot, right? Aren't
Yeah,
you going
that's
to
not
try and
true.
make that true?
Yeah,
Because
yeah. So
otherwise
why
you're a
would you want
liar
to?
for saying it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So this is huge. This is huge to understand. Please, people, please, 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 if there's one thing that you really, really understand the incredible, incredible power of self-talk. I mean, you have to become like super anal about your self-talk. There's no other way to say it. Sorry, Bina, but this is it. You have to become scrupulous and diligent. Watch every single word. Listen to yourself, because we've been trained to talk in terrible ways about ourselves, right? You'll hear this all the time, how people say, I'm a this, I'm a this, I'm a that. And all of this not particularly positive, right? But they sort of think it's cool and it's okay to say, but no, it isn't, because inside you, your inner self, your inner bureaucrats are going to try and make that true. Otherwise, you're a liar and a phony. Yeah. So
Yep.
this is why our language, especially, is so, so powerful. So beside the emphasis, it's also the fact that our self-talk is a very particular kind of an emphasis. And there's going to be a pattern where you're going to try over time to make it true. Even at the time, you may have said something like, like, well, I'm a worry, but you didn't quite mean it, but well, sort of. But you're going to try and make it true, even if it wasn't true, simply so that you weren't a liar, right? So this is very, very, very critical to understand. And I want to get into it now, but in the session, we also get into affirmations and why they don't work and how we can make them work. There's a particular skill and a methodology to it, and it all hinges on this inner honesty, right? And how
Yes.
you connect to it and how exactly you phrase things is very, very potent, very powerful stuff. Ridiculously powerful. But we've got to understand it's all connected to emphasis, and the particular emphasis that is self-talk. All right. So now we get to this next point, essential private positivity. This goes into detail about what you're doing inside yourself when you essentially on your own, or you may be with company, but you're watching TV, and how you respond to the TV. And this is a big deal. And I don't want to get too much in detail, because otherwise we'll spend the whole session talking about this. But watch what you do when you're in private, because you train yourself to, this is how I react, this is how I am. Then you get into public, and now suddenly you've got to behave differently. Again, you're being a phony, you're being different, and you feel like a hypocrite and all of this. Or your private stuff starts to come out, right? So if you in private getting annoyed at things, well, you may do so in public too. So be very, very, pay very close attention to that. Anyway, again, I just want to, I'm going over the curriculum to just, illustrate and draw attention to what is in the program and why it's so important, right?
Yes.
So that's all in session one. The session one here is a massive, massive, massive session one, right? It's a big, big, big deal. Then we get to session two, which again is huge, huge,
My
huge,
favorite.
right? Application, emphasis, and self-proof, right? If you're going to be doing any of the programs, courses with me, you're going to hear me say this a zillion times, because it's so absolutely huge. And what is it that I'm going to be saying a zillion times that you've heard me say over and over?
I,
Application.
is it true? I don't know. The one
Right.
that comes to mind right now, Sil, is it true? Remember
Ah,
that
right.
whole thing of when you put somebody on the spot and you can't come
Right.
up with an answer? Well, that's me right now. So
There you go. Okay, well, the next session here is application, right? So without
okay, yeah,
application,
it's all meaningless.
there you go. Right. That's the quote. That's what I'm saying. Right.
Okay,
So
yeah.
without
Without
application,
application, it's
it's
all
all
meaningless.
meaningless. Right. This is
Yes.
huge. In other words, so many, and this is something that I will fault some of the courses and programs that are out there in this, that they just give you information and you think because I'm getting the information, I'm changed. No, 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 no. Sorry, I got news for you. You're not. Your hard drive may be changed, but your program, your inner self, no. Without application, all you've got is extra information on your hard drive. It may make you believe you've changed, it may make you feel that way, but it's a bit of a hollow thing. It's not real change, right? It's the idea of change. The idea of change and real change, two different things. So through application, it's also emphasis, right? So in other words, if you're going to say to your brain, oh, I just heard something profound from Sil. I just heard all about whatever, right? Or in this program or whoever, not just from me. And now your brain says, wow, yeah, that's cool. That is really huge. And you don't do anything with it. The brain, after a while, is going to say, well, it couldn't have been all that profound and valuable, right? Sure, it's just going to, all right, we'll put it in the filing system. But the moment you start to use that, like for instance, I said to Sher, as part of the program, I said, Sher, deliberately worry. And she was like, hey, wait, bloody hell, I can't do this. Like, what the hell are you? That was an application. And now there was a profound emphasis. It's really, really changed Sher's brain, her being, right? One little simple thing, right? A big deal.
One thing.
Because it's application. The moment I start doing, the brain obviously takes notice, because a doing is emphasis. This has to be important to you if you're actually doing it, yes? And especially if you're doing it with conscious, deliberate attention. Wow, now it's like, oh my goodness, talk about emphasis going over the top. Again, you know from any type of a skill, I can read the instructions of how to ride a bicycle to you. Does it really help? No. Actually getting on the bicycle, right? Well, yes. See, or playing an instrument, same thing. Yeah, you got to really do some of these things. And now, furthermore, so I say, okay, you know what? I've been learning how to not get stressed by knuckleheads, right? By trolls and idiots and stuff like this. Okay, well, we've gone through the program. I've done all the tasks. I've done all the exercises. I've done the repeat backs. I've done the takeaways, and I'm applying it as much as I can. But I'm not sure. Okay, so now we go and test, and we go to a forum where trolls hang out, and I say something, and which I know is going to get all the trolls jumping on me. Oh, let's say some political thing, right? And whatever you say, the trolls are going to jump on you. And before you would get annoyed by them, now this is where self-proof comes in. It is the application of testing what you know. Because if you go out and you test it and you write, and the trolls come and they say, okay, you're an idiot and a nitwit and all the horrible things that they say, and you're like, so what, and you don't even blink at it. It's like, okay, troll next one, it doesn't matter. You now, in the emphasis inside you, can say, and your inner bureaucrats can say, yes, Sil or Cher or Bina, they don't just believe they can do this.
No.
They know they can do it. And they've tested and proved to themselves that they can do it. So now we can sign off on this and say, okay, you've got this. You really can not be bothered. You can really do what you think you can do. It's not just a belief. We have to be very cautious in believing we can do things. You might truly, truly believe it, but there's a big difference between belief and actuality. So self-proof is also now, it signs it off and finishes it and ties it up, and you can move on to something else, because self-proof is so critical for the brain. If you don't get to that final step of self-proof, then you always have that program open and running, waiting for the self-proof, right? And this takes your energy. It takes your energy. It's looping. It's like on your computer, right? When you look at all those open programs, makes your computer slower. You get too many of them, the computer crashes. Same with us as people, right? So when we finish what we learn through getting to self-proof, that emphasis gets locked in. We changed. Our brain is different. We are different, because we've demonstrated it's not just in the brain, it's in us, our entire body. Yes, like riding the bicycle. Riding the bicycle is not something that's in your memory or in your brain. It's in your body. Yes? Yeah. Right. Right. Now, sure, when it comes to dealing with obnoxious people, something in your body, no?
Yes.
To not be stressed, to not be anxious, to not be fearful, whatever. Especially if you've come from a background like Sher's, right? Where your early life was an entire conditioning to be stressed, right?
Yeah.
So this is a profound accomplishment, sure. Even you just being mildly stressed is an accomplishment. Never mind not being stressed, right? So just be aware of that and appreciate yourself for this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So now also we get to the third part of this, and it's still under emphasis and self-talk. The value of learning to quote ourselves, right? Why is this important? Because for a whole bunch of reasons, and I'm not going to get into it, it's all in the session, but it's about the emphasis. If I'm quoting other people, I'm saying, you know what, I still can't think for myself. I still can't come up with valuable stuff for myself. And I have to basically be listening to everybody else. Well, if I'm always listening to everybody else, yes, I can learn. And I'm not saying don't listen to everybody else, but I am saying listen and make it your own, because it's part of the path and the step from acquiring information. Second step, you make it your own, and then you finish with self-proof. There may be a few other steps in between, but that's the key point. You hear, you and learn, you acquire, then you make it your own, then you test it, apply it, prove it, and then you've got the thing done, then you can move on, right? This is really huge. Yes, Bina.
I just want to add that Norma is here and saying hello and hi, and Georgian is here. She's also saying hi.
Excellent.
And of course, saying to share. And sure,
Excellent.
it's really profound that you are here, because it's always adds so much to that, and your
Yes.
perspective, and of
Yes.
course your practice.
Yes. Yes.
Love it. Love it.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks for inviting me.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So hello, Norma. Hello. No magic. Sometimes Norma, no magic. Hello, Norma. And hello, Georgianne. I'm really thrilled you're
Yeah.
here also, Georgianne. You know, Georgianne's been a long time friend, and so I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here, Georgianne. Wow, wonderful. And Janelle and Ryan haven't come yet, yes? Or Cheryl?
Yes, she says that. Yes, they say that they are going to.
All
So maybe, yeah, we'll get
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, maybe they're just listening. Yeah, they might be busy, like Cheryl is working, I think so. She might not have time to say type or anything like that. So,
Mhm.
all right. Anyway, I'm thrilled that you guys are here. Really thrilled. So this value of learning to quote ourselves, it has other points when it comes to emphasis. That's why it's in the emphasis module. Because when I've learned something, and in order to put it into a quote form, there's particular things that go into saying a quote. You've got to kind of condense it. You've got to wrap it all up together. And your quote is like the start of a story, right? Where it follows from itself. When you kind of think about it, lots flows from that. So it trains your brain to condense things and package it in such a way that the quote is the start of a whole bunch of moreness. And this is incredibly valuable, right? And so this helps you to connect to it and hold on to the information and use it. Very powerful. So quoting yourself has all sorts of magical benefits, and it's a profound skill to get into. And it's the skill of emphasis in a particular way, emphasis that retains and holds onto your learning. Very powerful. Really cool stuff. All right, that's why it's under emphasis, this learning to quote ourselves. Plus, if I say things which are real cool quotes and quote worthy, this is something really awesome. Actually, let me show you something here. Let's see. Where's my file? Where's my file? Yeah. Viola series quotes. There we go. See, I have this whole huge, great big file in over here. Oh, I don't want to see the tips. You see, I mean, if you can see by my slider, you know, how much is in here. I think this is actually about a book length worth of quotes already. But it's all, you know, it's helpful. It's cool. But what I wanted to show is, I believe I have some quotes here from Sher in here and Bina. Let's see, I think so. Yeah, here's one from Sher. It's also about the courage to accept calm when chaos has been your song. Sher
Yes.
Unbound.
Yes. That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. So mostly these are my quotes, but every now and then I'll put in quotes from somebody else. Yeah. Here's a quote from Janet. And that's when I act out, Janet says. In response to people insisting their nonsense be the nonsense of others in order to justify their own foolishness and nincompoopery. And that's when I act out, Janet said. That was just too brilliant. That was just too awesome. Anyway, so.
Yes, Georgian is saying that a lot of people refuse to make the change and forever struggle. And sometimes we are faced with some barriers that are challenging.
Yeah.
Which is of course true. And then she says, gosh, a lot of information.
Yes,
Georgian, a lot of information. Tons of.
It
It is.
Georgianne, yes, I love what you're saying. Yes. You know, people are so afraid of change for many reasons. Now,
Yeah.
this particular live is jam-packed with loads of information, because I'm just touching on the top of the pyramid of information, of knowledge, of understanding, of learning. And I'm referencing all these big topics. So yes, this is because I'm introducing topics which by their very nature is lots of information. Precisely. That's why, doing this program, it's 4 months at the minimum, because there's so much information. But it's also important. It's not just about the massive information. What that time takes is when we actually do a program. That's what I'm going to demonstrate with the program that the course I'm going to make available to everybody to do, is we're going to go through it slowly and share that, because the doing is the issue. It's not the acquiring of the information, right? So when we do the courses the way we were speaking about, in session, in the part 2 of this, the repeat backs, the takeaways, the tasks and exercises, and all this stuff, that's where you learn, because that's the application of the knowledge. Getting the knowledge, that means very little, very, very, very little. It's doing something with that information that matters. So yes, it's a lot of information, but unless you do something with it, it'll be profound today, but tomorrow your life will be back to where it was, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and on that point, so about, the learning and the doing, that creates, for me anyways, the understanding. And when I understand something, then I know I've got it. Because then I can talk about it. I can not just do it, because sometimes we can memorize how to do something.
Right.
But can we always articulate?
Exactly.
And articulation expresses, that's our understanding, which is the learning.
Exactly. When you can express what's going on inside your head externally to somebody else, that's when you know that you know it. And because inside our head, I call them shadow thoughts. We have shadow thoughts, right? And those shadow thoughts make us think we know and believe we know and all this. But how often hasn't it come when you've had this wonderful idea and you come to your friends, hey, I've got this great idea. Oh, what is it? And you start explaining. And it's like, yeah, really? Seriously? Like, this was your great idea? And you like say to yourself, well, now that I explain it to you, what was I thinking? I don't know, right? Shadow thoughts. Why do I call them shadow thoughts? Because the moment they come out and they hit the light, they can't exist anymore, right? So it's very powerful. We have these shadow thoughts. We believe they are valid. Believe. When you express it, you get to actually see whether they are valid or not, right? So expressing yourself is very, very important. That's why the whole Zoom and the way we do these programs with the repeat backs and takeaways, and you come on Zoom and share them, or, in some cases, maybe email them in or whatever, depending on the nature of the program. But when you get to express them, this is very profound. It makes a big difference, yes, because of those shadow thoughts. We have to check. Right. So now we've gone through, let's go one page back, right? We've gone through intent and appropriateness. This is the start, setting things up. Takeaways and learning how to learn. This is the method of actually making sure that what you are acquiring becomes something real, right? The techniques and tools. Then we've got how you think about yourself in the Dictionary of Power. Again, tools for making sure that what you acquire, what you learn, gets to actually be something and be used. Then we've got impeccability and the super strategy. If you're not impeccable, you can do a lot of things you can apply, but you can also be working against yourself, right? Can you think of past instances, sure, in your life where you may not have been as impeccable as you would have liked to be, and how it was counterproductive?
Yeah.
Okay, we all have this, right? We all have this. It's not something to say, okay, yes, I'm a bit shamefaced to say it, but that's the point of learning. We always learn and improve. Yes, I'm a bit shamefaced and embarrassed, but I'm not ever going to deny it. I was an idiot at some point in time. I mean, at some point in my life, I used to poop in my pants every day. I learned not to, right? So this is it. Yes, we don't want to, I don't poop in my pants anymore, but, and psychologically, I used to do stupid and silly things. I learned not to, right? This is all, we have to understand that we are always learning. And today, the things that I do now, who knows, in the future, I may look back at me right now and I say, oh, so seriously, yeah. So this is part of learning, right? So we have to get over that. So this impeccability is also getting over self-importance. If you cannot
Yes.
be okay with being a nincompoop, you're never going to learn. Never, never.
Yes.
All right. So I'm just going
I
through.
love that.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
before we move forward, Georgian said that I'm facing changes that are challenging right now and trying to accept things as they are, but it's hard to correct what has been done. Is it really so?
Yeah. 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 You know what, Georgian, what you say is true, yes, in one context,
Mhm,
and also not true in another context.
mhm.
Right. So when I start next week and we do the free course that I'm going to do, please join and sign up and do it with me, and we'll address this
Yep.
very specific issue. Right.
Yep.
We'll address it. So please come and do it, and it will be. I'll explain at the end of when I go through the curriculum. I'll explain how that works. So I'm just doing a recap to say there's a path here. We set up our intent. We get our tools in place. We make sure impeccability and strategy. There are more tools, so that we get to emphasis, which is again more tools, right? Emphasis and self-talk, tools for changing ourselves. Now we get to a really profound tool, and we get also to a consequence. All of these tools we are looking at self-change and life change. Yes.
Mhm,
Now, and this ties into what you're saying, Georgianne, right? Some things, yes, you can't get over them, but all right. And I understand, especially when it comes to shame and guilt. And we've gone into this in detail with Sure, and that's a very
Those are the two
particular point,
parts.
right? It can be
Yes.
dealt with, but also in other ways, you might be talking about habit, where we feel like I am a certain way and this is how I am and it can't be changed. Is that really so? Or is it a profound, deep, entrenched habit of being? Yes. So this is a big, big deal. Habits are a huge deal, because in self change and life change, especially what we're doing here, we are paying attention. We're becoming more aware. And through that awareness, through application, through doing, we are changing ourselves, through understanding, through discernment, through really getting it, right? And getting it through emphasis, the emphasis of application. We are changing ourselves. However, habit is our big enemy, because what is habit? But habit is an intent to deliberately be unaware.
Oh,
Yes. Oh, you see how things work. I've said this, and we've a lot of things. Sure, it's been with you a long
why
time.
did
It's like, wow. I probably said that before, but it didn't quite click in the same way. Today I said, and it's like, wow, really grabs her. This is fantastic. This is fantastic, right? This is
Yep.
fantastic, right? So this is a big deal. A habit is a deliberate intent to be unaware. You say, but I'm not intending to be unaware, but kind of. I want to do something out of habit without thinking. That's unawareness, right?
An
So
unconscious choice.
exactly. It's a
Wow.
conscious choice to be unconscious. Now, do we
Yes,
always
okay.
set, sure, do we always set our habits consciously?
Do we set our habits consciously?
Do we always do so?
Always do so. I don't believe so.
No, sometimes we do and sometimes we don't, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
consciously set a habit and other times it just happens. I don't even think about
Yes.
it. And
Yeah.
and this is why habits are such a dangerous thing, right?
Yeah.
Because we acquire them, we don't even know we're doing it. And this is very, very, very big deal.
Right.
Now, so we're gonna go into dealing with habits and routines, very big deal. Now we get to mood management and just being. This is huge, huge, huge. Yeah. So all of what has come to this point have been tools for learning how to change yourself, right? If we go back to the previous ones, right? All of our tools, takeaways, and all that stuff, and the self-conception, the dictionary of power, impeccability, strategy, emphasis, self-talk. All of these are tools that help us deal with habits. Now,
Mm.
think of the most ridiculous, profound, affecting habit you have, and that is the habit of reacting, which is the habit of not choosing your mood deliberately.
We all have that. Come on, Chef.
I agree. We all have this, but I'm saying it's so prevalent. It's so everywhere. It's so for everyone
Yes.
that we don't even think this is something sort of like to pay attention to. We just accept it as normal. You say, but Sil, isn't this what everybody does? Something happens, you react. Yes. Does it mean it has to be that way? No.
Nope. Nope.
No. We can learn how to respond, which is a deliberate choice. Furthermore, I can learn to preemptively set my mood. I can choose what mood I want. This is a skill. It's a profound skill. And it's just something that you have to practice and get used to and do, right? And it's all connected with habits and routines. There's techniques and stuff that goes into this. It's a very, very big, crucial part of everything, right? We are going to use association management and connectivity and all of the stuff. Lots of stuff that goes into this, right? And it's a really profound thing. Not only are you going to learn to be more aware of your habits so that you can change them, but also use the habits themselves to work against habits. Super strategy. We are going to use habits to undo habits. The same way as if I say to my ego, you know what, ego? I take great pride and I'm going to be very stubborn in insisting on being not self-important. And ego says, yes, that's a very good thing. Wow, yes, we are going to be the best at doing this. You know what you just said, ego? I'm going to use my ego to not be egotistical. It can be done. It's a profound thing, right? I mean, these are just programs. They don't have a sensibility. They just do what their instruction is. So if you tell ego not to be egotistical, it's going to work very hard at doing that. If ego thinks it's going to be very special by not having an ego, which of course is true, right? Very profound. So super strategy, really big deal. But what we want to do is also, beside ego, is deal with mood management, right? Where you get to choose how you feel, not your environment, not that troll, not your life circumstance, not your ex, not your boss. No, you. Doesn't matter what they do, you choose. This is
But
a
mood
huge deal.
management, to me, also combines with energy management. If you don't have both of those going on, you're going to be drained and not going to be able to really apply a lot of this.
Exactly. It all connects. That's what I was saying. You know, mood management is connected to energy management, association management. There's a whole bunch of management. I couldn't remember them off the top of my head. I know there's like, I don't know, half a dozen of them or a dozen of them. Huge deal. Think of it this way, right? Just keep this in mind, people. What Cher said. Mood management is connected to energy management. You can write that down. You can write that down. You wake up in the morning full of beans and energy, right? And you really feel, man, I'm really waking up on the right side of the bed and I got lots of energy. How do you feel? You feel great. You feel like $1 million, right? But as soon as stuff comes and drains your energy, you go to work and the kids or whatever. And the more your energy gets drained, the less good you feel. Yes? Until when you're out of energy, you feel like crap. It's just how it works. So energy equals joy. Greater energy, more joy, right? You got lots of energy, you feel good, you feel happy, you feel joyful. Low energy, you feel miserable. That's just how it works. Okay. So very important to understand. So when we go through all of these, we're going to talk about confidence and incorporation and practical application. All of this is about dealing with habits and mood management. Very big deal. Now, in module 7 and module 8, we go to kind of take things to the next level. Right now, we've been talking up to now. First, we said, what are we doing? Module 1, intent. We are very clear about what we're doing. Then we said, okay, this is what I want to achieve, but how exactly am I going to do that? I want this, but I don't know how. Fine. So we did all the in-between models. We said tools. Here you go. Tools. You got all these tools to build what you want, right? Now we come and we say, well, is there more beyond this? There is. So now we start to go into awareness and making sense of it all. Now we get really profound. We get really sublime. This is a huge deal. This is a life-changing view of how things work. It's a massive understanding. And we can, in this, extracting the more, capital T trust, making sense of it all. These are life-changing, profound understandings. When they hit you, when they're there, it's like, wow. Okay, really big deal. Then we get to attunement, alignment, and anomalies intent and how it works, attunement, alignment, and anomalies. I mean, this is a session here, but really it's so huge. I have it as a standalone course also on this, right? And then we get into the wrap up of this, the moment to moment doings of a spirit warrior. This is a recap session, and there's more to it. I think there's actually another one here that's not on there.
Right.
Another recap, because it's very important to recap, to say before, after, and really be acutely, specifically, and deliberately aware of how you have changed, right? So that you can acknowledge that, because many of these changes, because you've made them your own, they kind of feel natural, and you don't even think you've learned, and that's important. If you think you've learned, well, have you really? But when you make it so natural that it's just built into you, that you now automatically do it, it's like when you ride a bicycle. You feel like you've been riding a bicycle all your life, right? But you do remember at one time you don't. But maybe you don't because it was so long ago. But that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for your changes to be so automatic, so innate, so built into you that they don't feel like something that you are doing that's new, that's added onto you. It's part of you. If you're doing something, that's like an add-on, well, you're still doing somebody else's something, right? But when it's inside you, it's in your operating system rather than being a program on your computer. See? Big difference, big difference. And that's what we want. We want it in our operating system. So the recap is very important to make you aware of exactly how different you are, because this affects your self-conception, right? Sure, can you say you are the same person you were when you started?
Oh, not even close.
Bina?
I have my first and middle and last name, and
Yeah. Right. Well, and you've got a new name too. You've got Show
I have a new
Unbound.
name now. Yeah. So
Yeah.
no, I'm not the same.
Yeah. Binabulous, what about you?
Yes. No, it's a lot of change. Yes. Okay. I was blessed in many ways, but
Yes.
that core was not organized. It was not sorted out.
Yes.
So all the information was
Yes.
actually in form of information,
Yes.
not really as real true concepts.
Right.
And conceptions. So that
Right.
is the huge difference, that whatever we assume, that at least I was assuming that I know a lot of stuff at that time. And it was not a false claim. I was aware of it, and I was blessed with my brought up also so many things, but still the connectivity, capital C connectivity, is a huge deal. To make it accessible, what is available to you. Make it available what is accessible to you. So that is the huge deal, and it makes a whole lot of difference in your personality. And this is how it happens to me.
Right. So I want to say something really here, and as a massive compliments to Sher and Bina. Both of them came into the program and changed massively. Their lives are very different now. Now, sure, you come from a history of where you're coming into it and you really felt that you needed to change, right? Things weren't exactly right. Now, Bina, however, when she started, she was just a normal person. Life was good. She was having fun and great and all this. But yet she also changed. Now, in both cases, this requires a profound acknowledgement of the necessity to change. Right, because like in your case, sure, you say I have to, but also that's all you know. And like in that quote of yours, right, about chaos.
Yeah,
we get comfortable in chaos. We get comfortable.
I really was.
Right now, not only can we get comfortable in chaos, like sure, but we can get comfortable in mediocrity.
Yes. Yes.
Very important.
Absolutely.
Very important.
Exactly.
Right. And also we can get comfortable in the bubble that we are. Right. So Bina, were you in a bit of a bubble when we first met?
Absolutely, I was. That's why I was saying that yes, I was kind of blessed that I was in a protected environment, and it was bringing a lot of things, but that was just there. And of course, I was doing all those things as shirts and also as habit. So it was not deliberate. And once things are not deliberate, you cannot get the maximum value from it.
Right.
So yes, things are there. I'm eating, but I'm not aware what I'm eating. And I'm just refusing. My body and my mind is not going to actually extract the real nutrition from that. Because for me, there is no difference between the junk food and the healthy food. I'm just using this analogy here. And that was my thing. And also that again, I'm just going to emphasize on the connectivity, because we always, like, Sil, you always mention that, like, okay, in our life, we see like millions of memes, life transformative,
Yes.
transformational more memes every single day. And every single of those memes are really life changing. There is no doubt about that.
Correct.
But what actually happens? Ah, because this whole information, any concept, unless or until we will not make it connection with other concepts and with our self-conception, and then apply it in our life and check it that why it is really working or not for me.
Yeah.
Till then, it is not going to happen. And this was my life.
Yeah.
I was aware I had few good, supposedly good habits and of things and ideas about myself, but they were all by default. Like, okay,
Yeah.
oh, I should do this. I should not lie
Exactly.
because it's a sin. I should not do
Exactly.
this because it's a sin. I was not
Exactly.
choosing it deliberately.
You
That's
were
why I was not
not
getting
living
connected.
deliberately, right, Veena?
Absolutely.
Yeah, makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to illustrate this, why I used Sher and Bina as examples. Because,
Yes.
okay, Sher, when we got to meet, it was a rough time for you. And
Yeah.
most people would say, well, knowing you at that time would say, well, this was good that you did this program. It's like, okay, this is appropriate. But if you'd met Bina, you would have said, well, Bina's just a nice person. She's fun, it's good, and it's got, why would Bina do the program? This is my point.
Yeah.
This is my point.
Yes.
I had imagined when I first started listening to Beanie and was first introduced to her, I was just bumfounded. I was trying to figure out, why is she in this program?
Right.
She knows all this stuff. I mean, it just drips from her. She just,
Right.
there's this goodness.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. But look at yourself, sure. Right. Okay, you come and we dealt with the things that were pressing on you, right?
Uh-huh.
And now we've sort of but now we started and we kind of doing things again in a different way. And now
Yeah.
you are learning from, okay, well, you know what? I'm not looking to fix problems. I'm looking to add to myself.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
This
Exactly.
is really what Way of Impeccability is designed for. Yes, it is going to fix your programs, but it's really a program which is looking to add to what you are. You may think you're all fine and normal and good, and you are. And you really are. Like Bina, there was nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with Bina. Bina was a wonderful, nice, wonderful person. But still, Bina wasn't living deliberately. Still, Bina was in a bubble. Bina was a bit naive in some things, etc., etc. Right? So,
Also, still sorry to interrupt you,
no
but
problem.
also there is, when we say that it's a toolbox for living deliberately,
Exactly.
it actually gives you this understanding, this awareness, these skills to learn more skills what you need in life.
Exactly.
Now everything, whatever, for me, there is no restriction, no hesitation,
Exactly.
no reluctance, no matter how absurd, how unique, how unusual
Exactly.
things I want to do in my life. I know that I have this ability, I have these tools, I can do anything. And this
Exactly.
is so much profound for me, because it is not about fixing problem, it is going to actually elevate yourself to a next level.
Exactly.
As well as in coaching too.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I can do, of course,
the other day.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Everything that I'm learning, yes, I went through the program once and then I did it again, and I'm doing extended courses now from it, with getting a deeper understanding. But there's a real bonus to this. As a trauma recovery coach, I am able to take so much of what I have absorbed and made my own from these courses and programs, and now I'm able to share it with clients.
Exactly.
So as a coaching tool, I cannot express how valuable this is.
Correct. Correct.
Absolutely.
It is, right. And Bina was saying that, she's doesn't do the coaching directly. She does a lot of things with me and all this, but if she wanted to, she could. She's empowered, in other words. And this is the real point of Way of Impeccability. It's an empowerment tool. Now, in order to get to the point where you can start to acquire the tools as empowerment tools, you first have to get rid of all the stuff that needs to be dealt with, right, Sher?
True.
So fine, we've got a lot of stuff, and some of us have a bit more stuff than others to deal with. Yes. So, there's no better or worse. We
Yeah.
have to learn
Absolutely.
regardless, right? Sometimes being in a good situation like Venus can completely trap you worse than being in a terrible situation like Sure. Because a
I can
terrible
see that.
situation is saying, get out, get out, get out. A good situation, well, I'm in a bubble, everything is cozy and wonderful, la 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 la. And you know,
I can see
Exactly.
that.
and you
Exactly.
go, this is a terrible trap, right? So when we this is part of when we looked at this in module 7, moreness, different perspectives, awareness, we realize, oh, that's a different way of thinking. Oh my goodness, I never thought
And sure,
this.
as you mentioned about coaching, yes, if I really want to, I can do right now. Right now, I
Right,
can start this.
right,
This is
Yeah.
how I have gained my self trust and, of course, acquire my self trust through impeccability.
right.
Also, that I am actually exploring and trying new things in my life. And it was a big deal. I have joined a poetry course. I'm just sharing this because to
Yeah.
understand that way of impeccability is not restricted to fixing problems or just go into
It,
life coaching, but it is
Yeah.
adding
No.
more and more and
No.
more.
right, right.
So
Mhm.
I decided to go to do and do this poetry course. And the first thing was like I was like, duh, seriously? And everybody else who was actually assisting, it
Right.
was like, oh, they were struggling. But for me, it was a shock, yes, a disappointment in the beginning, but then the realization kicked in and I was like, wow, how much I have learned, how much I have grown up. So these things which
Yeah,
might be a real problem for me to even understand are not, now it's like, seriously, it's a
yeah,
child's play.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It, they become like a child's play for me. When
You've
I
a,
was going into the writing course, when I go into the art course, when I go into the poetry course, it is happening everywhere, not only in
yes,
single or any one
yes,
situation, everywhere. Whatever I
yes.
want to do in my life, I know I can do this if I
Right,
really want to.
right, right,
From
right.
sports to acting
Yeah,
to art, literature, anything you name it.
yeah,
If I really want to do this, I
right,
have all the tools and the skills to
yeah,
actually do this
yeah.
and not average, like, okay, oh, yes, I'm doing this. I'm sure I'm going to do this with some excellence. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Because you're empowered. And you're not
Yes.
empowered because you've learned information, not because you've acquired specific skills. You've acquired the skills of learning, the skills of awareness, the skills of discernment, the skills of understanding, the skills of application. So, in other words, you've learned the tools of how to make tools. Yes,
But
that's
I
empowerment.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Chair.
the biggest one for me that has come out of it, besides self-trust, of course, and understanding and owning my worth, my value,
Yes.
is the idea
Yes.
that choice isn't just choice. I mean, I've got a choice to believe or not believe.
Yes.
I'm not calling this a faith or a religion or program, but what it has done for me is
Yeah.
it has helped me connect to that word,
Right.
belief,
Yes.
beyond an idea. It's beyond
Yes.
a meme, it's beyond an idea. It's made
Ah,
it so its own
yes.
Exactly.
belief to me is its own conception.
Exactly.
Without
Exactly.
it,
Exactly.
I have no choices to make. Does that make
Exactly.
sense?
Oh, huge, huge
Okay.
statement.
Yes.
Let's get into this a little bit because it's a little fuzzy, right? So when you're
Okay.
talking about belief, you're talking about like a belief, for instance, that well, I can't control my temper.
Right.
That's a belief.
Or
It's not a
or
fact.
I
It's a
am not
belief.
or I am not a good person, as
There.
was my case.
What a belief. That's a great one to choose. Because boy, is this a belief that people treat as a fact? And the
Mhm.
moment you believe it so strongly, and
Yes.
this is the problem with beliefs, we forget they are beliefs. A belief is not a fact. A belief is not a fact. A belief is not a fact. I'm going to say it 100 times.
Right.
A belief is not a fact, right? But we forget
Mhm.
this, and we treat them as facts. And what happens when you treat things that aren't so as so? Isn't that the definition of madness?
It is.
Right, well,
It
there you go.
absolutely.
So when we start to really believe our beliefs, that's when we get a bit mad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get all sorts of crazy. This idea, this belief that you aren't a good person, please, no, throw it out. So this,
Okay.
I see this especially in good people. You know, the bad people, they all think they're good. It's fascinating. Look at,
Yes.
like if you remember
Have you noticed that
Sopranos,
too?
right? I mean, look at Tony Soprano, right? The chief mafia gangster, terrible, horrible person. He goes to the psychiatrist. This is the theme of the story for those of you who don't know it. What is he looking to get from the psychiatrist, and why she eventually quit on him, right? He's looking to say, yes, it's okay what you're doing. You actually have a good reason for doing it. He justifies all of his bad behavior because in his mind, he's a good person. He actually says it at one point. Yeah, but the people that we deal with, they're all bad people, and we sort of doing them a favor by beating them up when they, or whatever, right? We're educating them. He thinks of himself as some kind of a public service. Of course, it's all gross, massive BS to distort his nonsense. The point I'm making is that, bad people, they think they're good, and good people tend to think they're bad. It's just the ridiculousness of life. Yes, Bina.
Okay, so Norma is asking a question, and she is asking that, is this single-mindedness? Do others, as I have a brain full of filing cabinets?
Okay, when she says, is this single-mindedness, what point was this focused on? It's a little too far back for me to remember.
Yes, we were discussing about the way of impeccability and habits and deliberateness and all these things. So this is especially being deliberate. So where she was asking, actually.
Okay, you guys respond, because then I'll maybe connect a little bit more, because it seems to have grabbed you, sure. So please share.
Well, I don't have a response just yet. I'm going to defer to Bina.
Okay.
Just because
for me,
I'm kind of
yes,
I'm
please,
kind of
please
lost
share.
on the
Sorry,
question.
please share. Continue. Sorry, I was not.
No, sure says she's a bit
no.
lost on the question.
Okay. So what I understand from the question, and for me, is that it is not single-mindedness. It is mindfulness in a different way. We can say that
Good
being
choice.
mindful about our actions, our reactions, our responses and behaviors. Just pay attention to that. Okay, whatever I'm doing, what is the intent behind doing this? So it's about not single-mindedness. It is, I think that what single-mindedness is just like, absolute focus. What if I'm understanding it right? So in focus way, yes, but it is not like going to be energy draining, like hyper focus on that. Just being mindful, just being deliberate, and pay attention to what I'm doing and what is the intent behind doing that. And that's it.
Always.
So
That was a good point, Bina. Being deliberate, being mindful of what we're doing at all times.
Right. But it's a great question also, Norma. It's a fabulous question.
Yes.
And I just wanted to let it settle into me a bit, because there's so much moreness to that question. Now, when we talk about single-mindedness, we tend to think of somebody who is doing something to the exclusion of everything else. Yes? Now, sometimes that can be a positive, and other times it's a negative, right? Because if I'm single-minded, I'm not paying attention to the world around me. I'm ignoring my loved ones, whatever. I'm just focused on my goal. Now, okay, when you, like in business and success, they're single-minded on making their own business or whatever. And they get the results and you say it's good. Or single-minded when it comes to getting a gold medal in the Olympics or whatever, right? So other times we see this as a great positive, yes, in order to achieve your objective. But it comes at a massive cost, of course, also. Now, in Way of Impeccability, we employ super strategy. What is super strategy? Super strategy is a way of thinking, a way of being, a way of doing, a way of understanding that allows us to take what seems like contradictions and fuse them together. So we are going to be single-minded. Yes, but we're also not. Why? Because we are going to be single-minded about overview perspective. See the hugeness of that. We are going to be single-minded about having overview perspective, about overview understanding, about making sense of things in the overall. So I'm going to be single-minded about my intent. And I'm going to have an apex intent under which all of my other intents go underneath, right? So I'm going to use this mechanism of single-mindedness, but exclude the negatives, because I'm going to be single-minded about an overview, a top-level category, like, for instance, the capstone of a pyramid, yes? So I'm going to be single-minded about being good. But what does good mean? Being good, what does that mean? It means a ton of things. I'm not going to pick the little things in between and focus on those and lose the big picture. I'm going to be single-minded about the big picture. So I do all of those things. Yes, it's the way the brain works. It's how language works. All of language is taking lots of little things and putting it together. For instance, chair. I say chair. We all know what I mean. But which chair? Right? I mean, every one of you that is sitting on a chair right now, I guarantee you're sitting on a different chair to everybody else. Right? You see what I mean? Chair is a concept that has an understanding, an abstract understanding. A chair is something that you put your backside on, and it may or may not have a back constraint and all this, but it's a mechanism, an object that allows you to sit, to sit, right? And we all know what sitting is. So therefore, a chair, we understand a mechanism that enables sitting. So this is taking the detail of all the millions of chairs, and actually, if you go to like design books, you can get a book on chairs, and you can see all the literally millions of designs of chairs. It's really fascinating to see the range of chairs. I've seen a book like that once. But my point is, we still understand chair. Now, we can use that same mechanism that's already built into language to do it with more sophisticated concepts. And this is what the Dictionary of Power is all about. We're going further. We're going deeper. We are really being single-minded about being aware. We are being single-minded about having discernment. We are being single-minded about understanding. Understanding what? Everything. We are single-minded about application. Applying what? Everything we need to apply in order to demonstrate that we need it. Everything that enhances us. Everything that adds to us. So it's a fabulous, fabulous question, Norma. So please, Norma, did we answer your question? If not, then give us more detail of what exactly you meant.
No, yes, she's saying that. Yes, I'm hearing you and absorbing you. So
All right,
yes.
all right, very cool, very cool, very cool. We absorbed you too in that question. Fantastic question. You know, this is the power of what we do. You see, even though I felt that you were saying this and you were responding to what I said at that time, and because there's a bit of a delay, Norma, you know, that it wasn't immediate. There's like, I don't know, a half a minute or so delay, and then I was talking a little bit. So it's hard to connect exactly to my statement because you were asking about a particular, you know, sentence or two. But still, it makes no difference because we still get value out of this. And this is part of the deeper psychology of what we are looking to do in all of what we do here. It allows us to connect to more, even though it's not specific. I don't know exactly what you meant. Doesn't matter. We still got plenty value out of your question. And it's a very important thing that I want to say to anybody watching this. Ask the questions. Ask.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you think they're connected or not, or we don't understand. Some value comes from the asking because there was an earnest energy to that. That earnest energy, it leveraged us. It pressed on us. It puts more from us. Look, even now, stuff is coming into show.
It is. And because she asked the question, and I noticed something about my own state of mind that because I am so focused, because my emphasis is on choice to hear, capital H hearing today,
Yes.
and being present, my field of awareness is kind of single-minded at this moment. And so when she asked that question, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, you see, you
That's
stopped
why I
us.
was really glad to defer to somebody else to listen and answer it,
Yes.
because then it brought my
Yes.
attention to,
Yes.
oh, wow, look at my focus. So thanks,
Yeah,
Norma.
yeah. See, again, so even in the asking the question, even though Sher didn't have a response, you made Sher aware of her being too single-minded. So it was fantastic. So your
Yes.
question, even though that might not have been what you were asking about, it had the effect because it was a mourners question. It stopped Sher and said, whoa, wait a second, Sher, zoom out a little bit. You don't be too single-minded. So yeah, so this is part of what Way of Impeccability does, and especially in our Dictionary of Power. We learn to understand that words do not always mean what we think they mean. They can mean many different things. And also, we understand that words can mean both contradictions at the same time, right? We in the session with Erica yesterday, this was profound because one of the things, this is in the Hearing and Helping program, we were going over confidence and humility and how those two have to go together. I actually made up some new words like humilidance and what was the other one, Bina? Humilidance.
Conformability.
Yeah. Right. Well, it was confidence and humility, comfortability, something like that. Yes. Right. Anyway, so, humilidence or comfortability, these are really profound. When you understand this, wait a second. If I have too much humility, it makes it very difficult for me to be confident, correct? And if I have too much confidence, I lose my humility and I become overconfident, and that's a negative.
Yes.
So to be capital C confident or capital H humility, I need to have some of the other one built into it. Yes. In other words, to be appropriately confident, to be appropriately humble, to have appropriate humility, I need to have some confidence. To have appropriate confidence, I need to have some humility. They have to go together. Yes.
Yes.
So now we say, wait a second. You just completely messed with my whole idea of what confidence and humility is. Yes, exactly. Because confidence is a scale.
It
And
is.
so is humility. When we get to that point of appropriateness, we start to see how they blend together. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't want to talk too much about confidence and humility necessarily, as wonderful as those points are. I'm making a bigger point, which is the point of understanding language and how it works on us. Emphasis, in other words, and the power of this to change our ability to conceive. And it's why another name for Way of Impeccability is, you can call the program, you can call it the language of conceptuality, right? Because when we learn to change this, our world suddenly explodes. Because like you said about single-mindedness, Norma, see how it comes in again. Single-mindedness can also come from vocabulary, where we have a one interpretation of words only. And so when you use that word or encounter that word or that concept, that's all you think without realizing that there is more to it. Like, for instance, humility. Yes. I say humility, when I first started to use this word as a positive, to say humility is a quality. Somebody said to me, somebody who I really was not, they had excellent language, and, they weren't like in a bubble of nowhere. There was not like it was a 2 or 3-year child asking me this question, right? So there's somebody who was already understanding things, grown up, or whatever. They said, but why on earth would I want to have humility? Why would I want to feel bad about myself? Why would I want to be humiliated? I said, dude, humility and humiliation are two completely different things. And then I had to explain the difference, right? See my point here. So he had a misunderstanding about humility. He thought it was connected to humiliation, which it's not. Yes, in its origin, if we really go back to the etymology of the word and the roots and outcome, all right, you'll see how the connectivity is, but it's not really. So what I'm making a point is that we have to understand that words have connectivities and associations. And when we can transcend those and start to see the bigger picture, for instance, when I say humility, capital H humility, this includes having confidence and self-trust in yourself,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
I'm not going around being weak and feeble when I'm expressing my humility. Hell no. I'm very confident. Right now, I'm practicing humility. Of course, you hear me. I'm saying this stuff because this is stuff that I really, really, really know. Otherwise, I would never speak about it, right? Never. It's not in me. But at the same time, I am always open to saying, whatever I say, it can be added to. There can be more to it. I learn, like in this program now, in this live now, I've learned lots of stuff, right? Always there. That's part of my humility. I understand I'm an nincompoop. No matter how much I've learned, I'm still a nincompoop. Compared to the universe, compared to what's possible, I'm still a nincompoop, right? So it's just a scale. That's humility, is understanding ourselves relative to the universe. What am I compared to the universe? Nothing, right? But I may be very little, but am I zero? No. Compared to the universe, I'm very, very tiny. But compared to zero, how large am I?
Ginormous.
Exactly. The smallest thing is massive compared to zero, correct?
Yep.
So very important. See, again, we have this coexisting contradiction. This is really, really, really powerful, or counterbalancing conundrums, as Erica calls them, which I love that term, right?
I like
so again,
that.
these are power conceptions to say that things coexisting contradiction, counterbalancing conundrum. What a fabulous thing. This is what our dictionary of power is all about. To take our understandings and not to be single-minded about them, but to be broad and open-minded. At the same time, we are going to also be single-minded because we have now elevated and say, I'm not going to be single-minded about the specific definitions that are limiting, but I'm going to be single-minded about the broad overview. For instance, I'm going to be single-minded about the application of capital H humility or capital H confidence, because the two of them are the same thing in the end. No?
Mhm.
All right, take leadership. And we said when it comes to leadership, in the program there, this was a term that I put in, and it was humble, was it humble authority, Bina?
Yes.
Right. Do you think of a good leader? They have humble authority, right?
I do, yeah,
Yeah. Now, what is humble authority but the combination of confidence and humility?
exactly.
Right.
Okay, okay.
See, so this is how it all ties together. So my
Yep.
point is that this is what we want to have, right? We want to have humble authority. So when I understand capital H humility, capital C confidence, that's humble authority, is it not? Yeah. So this is really cool. Anyway, we digress a little bit. Thank you, Norma, for your magical question. Please keep asking. Please keep asking. Okay. So we've come to the end of the curriculum, and the last part of what I wanted to share here in this pre-program program is just a little, the Mourners Project programs and courses. So this is everything other than Way of Impeccability. Attentive attuning. This was the finer points on attunement. Remember when I was saying attunement is sort of one session, but there's so much to it. Okay, there's more to go into it.
You need to change the screen.
I'm not sure. Am I not screen sharing?
I don't know, maybe my page needs refreshed, but
Oh, yeah, it can take a little while to come through. Yeah. Is it showing for you, Bina?
Yes.
Okay. So it's you, Sher, this time.
yep.
The finger of suspicion points to you. Did you play this game when you were a kid?
Did I what?
Did you play a game in which you would say the finger of suspicion points to you? I remember. I don't know how the game works anymore, but I remember that phrase.
Yeah, no, we
Yeah. You
didn't.
would do something, and then you'd be sitting in a circle, and then I don't know what you did to say that, but then somebody would say, and then they would point at somebody else and say, "The finger of suspicion points to you." You had to say it in this very dramatic voice. That was the of the game. Anyway, I don't remember the game. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, please say in chat there. Please explain the game to me, because I've forgotten. I just remember that phrase. It was very cool, So I use it every now and then to say the finger of suspicion, kind of a joking way, but. Anyhow, so I'm just going through the courses here real quickly. Attentive attuning, very important about attunement. Okay, alchemizing the alchemist. This is about the book, The Alchemist, doing a real capital R reading on it and showing the magic parts and showing the nonsense parts, because there's also a lot of nonsense in that book. Yes, I know people that love The Alchemist, and most of, Bina, Sherb, Erica Jane all love The Alchemist, but there's also nonsense in it. And it's learning to see this and not to have the nonsense affect the profoundness, and have that discernment to see them both and get value, even though there's also nonsense. Because depending on what you catch onto first, for most people, they grab onto to either the nonsense or the magic, and then that's how they see the rest of the book. Now, if you see it all as magic, you can end up with some distorted ideas. If you see it all as nonsense, you miss the magic, right? So again, we want to have this overview perspective that allows us to have the discernment to be able to get the value both ways, right? Very powerful.
Yeah.
Capital D diplomacy, it kind of speaks for itself. This is a very sophisticated program. This connects to nobility, and it's a very big deal. Feeling and believing, this is a very short program. Which is
just want to add something about capital D diplomacy, because it sounds like a very professional oriented course, but actually,
correct.
This is a real, true magical course for relationships.
It is. It truly is.
This is so huge.
Yes. This could be retitled. Connecting, communicating with your other.
I would say so, yeah, because that's what.
Absolutely.
But not only with other, but with yourself too.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Correct. Right. Because your other is, we are not one, we are more than one. So if I make that title, in the title, it's your other, which is like, your partner, but your other also is your inner self, right?
Yes.
And we have to be, if you're going to be self-aware, if you're talking I or me, there has to be two. It just has to be. So it's just the nature of awareness, right? So when you're unaware, then you can be a singular. But as soon as you become aware, you become a two. You become maybe more than two, but this is the point. And we have kind of a mirror self and, to see ourselves in and talk about. Yeah.
So
Anyway.
if anyone is looking for any real transformation in relationships in general, of course, your intimate relationships, your relationship with your children,
Correct.
your parents, any type of relationship, and with yourself, this is the course. This is the course for that.
Yeah. And of course, if you do develop the ability to, first of all, really connect and speak and interact with yourself in ways that aren't negative, that aren't combative, that aren't aggressive, that aren't fighting, right? Then, and you now from that step, and then you learn to transfer that to your partner. If you have the skill of being able to always, no matter what they do, be okay, be at ease and resolve it. Well, your boss, your troll, none of these people are going to end up being issues in your life anymore, right? So it's obviously we are looking at it from an overview point of view, but it's like Veena and Shir says, these are profound skills, right? For dealing with just dealing with stuff and expressing, and a different way of thinking, a different way of being. Because look what it says in the description here. The finer points of interaction, shared, capital S sharing, not regular sharing, capital S sharing, which has got a lot to it, from
Still,
deep.
your slide is stuck.
Oh,
Yeah, it's stuck on the module 6 through 8 screen.
oh. All right. Well, let's do this.
That's why I was saying it was not moving.
Yeah. Bina said it had updated, but we got inaccurate information from Bina. How about now?
Yes, Morning's project. Yes, now.
Okay.
Now it is. Yay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, all I did was just end screen share and come back again because my page was there. So,
Yeah.
all right. So it says capital E diplomacy, the finer points of interaction, shared, capital S shared, from deep within the new nobility perspective and philosophy. Right. So I want to emphasize, yes, what Shir said, yes. What Bina said, absolutely yes. But there's even more to it, right? Lots more, right? Okay. Feeling and believing, this was a very profound course. I remember when we did this show, how much it changed your way of thinking, right? It absolutely shifted. It's a short course, if I remember correctly. I think it's only like maybe 2 modules, or 2 sessions.
Yeah.
It's very short. But it's making a point, a really profound understanding, and that's one that we get stuck in a lot, right? So it's really about the point of what's understanding the subtle but influential relationship between feeling and believing, and the connection of both to character. Anyway, big deal. So next one here, freedom from anxiety and worry. This is the course. Yes, this is the course I want to make available to anybody in group. Yes. Anybody, and I want to emphasize this, anybody who wants to do this can do this. Now, of course, if you want to do it, contact me, connect me. And, if you haven't seen part 2, there are 2 parts, part 2A and 2B of this live series. Go and look at them. I'll give you the links and everything, because, if you want to do this, the key is to doing it the way it's intended to be done. Right? Which is not just reading information. That's the way people think you do a course. Oh, I get it and I read it and then I know it. No. Sorry, that's not how it works. Okay. So doing this course means doing all of those 9 points of doing that I point to in parts 2A and B. In part 2A, you can see it right there, the 9 points of doing. As a matter of fact, I can get to them right now. I can, because it's in this part of this pre-programmed program. It's all there. So let me go there. Here we go. Good for you, Sol. You got there right away. Well done. Okay. So, I make this a bit of a joke and a fun thing, but I never used to do this in all my life. I never would acknowledge when I do things. And it's just that having too much humility, most of my life, humility and modesty was such a predominant thing. I was overly single-minded, thank you, Norma, about being humble and modest. So I didn't take credit for myself and I limited myself. I had more to offer than what I thought I did. Right. And so now when I do stuff, okay, it's a small little thing, but just this act of self-acknowledgement, self-appreciation, a little bit of self-praise, not about ego. It's just about enjoying yourself. Right. And it's changing your brain pattern. So we all learn all the time. All right. So the point I was saying is that if you want to do this, this course for free, this freedom from anxiety and what, and of course, Sher is going to tell you it's a lot more than just that, right, Sher?
Yes.
Because it's going to change the way you think and understand and all of the stuff, right? So feel
Well,
and all of that. Yeah, go ahead.
just to give anybody a hint, I had several worldview collapses over the period of, I don't know, 2-3 days now since our last session.
Right.
And that's not taking it lightly. I mean, those were huge, profound changes when
Exactly.
your whole worldview changes just like that.
Exactly. Now, typically, worldview collapse is quite a negative thing. It's very stressful, but you can ensure that because she's learned how to shift her conception, her mindset, and she's got these tools, that this was a positive for her, right?
It was huge. Absolutely.
It was massive. Yeah. Exactly. It's life change. It's life change right there. Yeah, life change, just like that. All right. So if you're going to want to do this, these 9 tasks of doing are what you're going to be required to do, right? Okay. First of all, you're going to have to come into it with honesty and self-honesty. Very important. You're going to have to do the repeat backs, the takeaways, the dictionary of power, the tasks and exercises, come on Zoom, post application. Now, coming on Zoom, because we are going to be doing it publicly, this might not, depending on how many people do this, it might not be possible for everybody to come on Zoom. And okay, but then when we do a live, at least to attend, like Norma's attending now and Georgianne, right? At least attend then, right? You don't have to literally join us on Zoom, although that might be better. Because when typically with these programs, what happens is, like when Sher comes on, right? We go on Zoom. We spend 2 hours going over the takeaways, the repeat backs, the dictionary of power, and so on. Right? We get into it in detail, like we were discussing things earlier. That's very typically what happens. When we were getting into the discussion and answering Norma's question, that kind of discussion and back and forth and understanding and unraveling and figuring it out and spelling it out and expressing it. This is all that happens on Zoom. Now, of course, if there's going to be 100 people, it's going to be very difficult to do, but we can still do it. You can say, hey, I've got a question to ask, I've got a statement to do, or I pick somebody at random and I say, okay, Mary, please share your repeat back on slide 1. And Mary shares. Okay. And then I go to John and I say, okay, John, do your takeaway of slide 2, and so on and so forth, right? So you might not do it on the whole thing, but we can spread it around between everybody. And this is also very powerful, because when you've got your own, you've already done your own repeat back and takeaway on everything, right? Because you may be called on for any time, you don't know. And of course, you need to do it for yourself, and you want to do it because this is part of the learning. But getting feedback on what you have is very important. Now, even though you might not share your own repeat backs and takeaways and dictionary of power entries, hearing what others have to say gives you feedback on what you have to say. It's incredibly powerful, right? So there are 2 ways to do these things. It's to do them individually or to do them in a group. Both are powerful, right? So to understand this. So it's a profound opportunity. I want to really emphasize this. It's not something I lightly do, because it's going to take a lot for me to do this. It's a lot involved. But if you want to do this, then you got to do all this, right? So Zooming here means, yes, coming on Zoom, and if asked, you share, right? And put your hand up. Like, for instance, Bina will help me, Sher will probably help me too. And they will say, okay, so you might type a question in the Zoom chat, or in the chat, like, because we're going to do this live. So you type your question, and then Bina makes a note and says, okay, this is a really good question. Let's pick this one, and so on and so forth, right? And then we may even do it, if there's, depending on how many people, I may even have you send the stuff in via email and send your questions in ahead of time, and we pick from those, and so on and so forth, right? So there may be slightly different how we do it as a big group, depending. It maybe, I don't know how many people want to do this. And then posting, right? Like you see, sure, if you go to the guides tab, you look in guide 2, you'll see all of Sher's posts there. And you'll see these are her takeaways, sometimes repeat back, sometimes they merge together, right? Because Sher's last post about choice and responsibility, we've been going into choice and responsibility in detail. It was a big deal. And there was a previous post about responsibility. I asked her about, hey, write out what capital R responsibility means to you, particularly in the connection of choice. And she's still going, right? She's still going.
Yes.
She's got, I don't know, half a dozen posts on that already by now, I think. So anyway.
Yes, because it's a big topic to me. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And part of your posts, there's always like some personal story of how you applied these things in your life. When you went to the post office, you dealt with a landlord or whatever it is, right? Application. Now, putting together an overview perspective, I don't know. Yeah, I probably could apply. This could be, but this is really keeping a journal for yourself. Right.
Yeah.
And coming to where at the end of the program, you've got a little story that says, this is what the program was all about for me. Yes. This is what I see it as now, because that's very, very, very different for everybody. You may think it's going to be the same, but no. So basically this overview perspective is like a summary, but you want to do this as you go through it, because you are going to it's the story of your journey, right? It's a very different story. So very cool. All right. So, by the way, when you come on Zoom, bring snacks.
Bring snacks and be prepared that you will be given a wonderful new name.
Maybe that's hard to do, sure, for everybody, but yeah, potentially. But let me just make that potentially, yes, like Sure Unbound or Erica Empowered. Yeah, or Sue Unedited. Yeah. Robin Repainted. Yes. Yeah. Fantastic. All right. So this is very cool. Now, just to end here, let me emphasize this. If you want to do the course and the program, you can PM me. You can say in comments, I want to, and I'll PM you, because, if we're not already personal friends, then when you message somebody, it doesn't always show in their notifications. So just be aware of this, people, right? Sometimes you may PM people and you never heard back from them. If they're not a friend of yours, they might not see the notification, right? So if you're not sure, just say in comments underneath this live video, say, yes, I'd like to do the course or whatever. And then I'll contact you and connect, and we can talk and so on and so forth, right? And if you're not sure what you need to do, we can come on Zoom and I can explain it, or I'll give you the links to the videos. I'll actually put the links of the videos in the top of the program, parts 2 that need to be watched, right? Well, it would be good to watch part 3 as well, actually, because that's going to come into play. All the things that we talked about in part 3, perspective shifting to multiple perspectives, thinking things through to the end, the emphasis, and so on and so forth. All of those are going to be used when we do this course, right? And so, yeah, just please say if you want to do this, and let me know, and then we'll connect and get together. And understand that doing this requires some doing from you. Now, I want to ask everybody in the course, why, in the program, everybody in the group, I want to ask, and I'm going to make a separate post about this probably too. I want to ask, why are you here in this group? Why are you here? What's the name of the group?
Okay.
Self-improvement, self-awareness,
self-improvement.
Self-discovery, discussion, right? It's SASSY, self-awareness, self-improvement, self-discovery, discussion group. Okay. So you're here to learn, to grow, to add to yourself, to try and change yourself, to change your life. This is the point of it. Here's an opportunity to do so. You must say, yeah, but I don't really have anxiety and worry. Makes no difference. Makes no difference whether you personally feel you have it or not, or at least where it's a problem or not. There's still much to learn from this, right? Because you'll learn to understand what happens in others who may affect you. right? If you want to tell me you live in a world where you don't deal with anybody who's affected by it, well, that's fantastic. That's great. But still, so whether you have it or not, there's much value to be obtained from this, right? Like for any coach that's out there, as Show will tell you, you are going to get an insight into the deeper psychology, the understanding how things work, thinking, ways of doing, and just by doing this course, you are going to learn to conceive differently, learn to process differently, learn to apply strategy differently, think differently. Whether you are using this to get rid of anxiety or not doesn't make any difference. These apply, they apply to other things as well. So my point is, yes, it's anxiety and worry, something is very common and very typical, but the underlying strategies can be applied to many things, right, Sue? I mean, sure.
Exactly.
So there's more to it than just dealing with that. So don't think that, it's just for people who have anxiety and worry. No, this is this is about anybody who wants to learn and grow. That's it. End of story. It's for the reasons that you are in the group: self-awareness, self-improvement, self-discovery, and discussion. Right? Discussion is the takeaways, the repeat backs, the dictionary of power, all those things, zooming, making posts, all of it is under the bigger heading, capital D, discussion. Big deal, big deal, big deal. All right, so I really want to emphasize this is a very big opportunity, and I'll probably make a separate post because I'm saying this at the end of things here. Not everybody's going to see the end of this, but I will make a point to say in the comments, go and look at the end to know more details about doing this. Yeah. So again, just share and comment and say, because again, when you're watching this as a replay, it doesn't matter, right? We may start next week, but depending if it's a little slow, people signing and, they need to find out, they need the time to understand what takeaways and repeat backs are. Maybe we'll start later than that. We'll see. We'll play it by ear, depending how many are doing this. All right. Very cool. Sure. Bina, anything to add?
No, I guess the only other thing that I would like to add is my message is open. If anybody has any questions about specifics on the program, like from I'd like to call myself a student, from a participant's point of view. I'm happy to talk to anybody about it. About my experiences and things that have changed.
Oh, brilliant. Hi, Kevin. Oh, magic, man. Cool. I'm glad you could join. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to add something here, because this is, if we all talk about, we all wish for and kind of like dream of that, okay, someday something will happen and our life is going to change. The first step is always in our hand. Ask question. And it is not going to cost you anything when you ask questions. But if you don't ask the appropriate question, this is going to cost your life. So please don't hesitate to ask question, whatever it is, regarding these courses, regarding what you already shared, you can ask questions and they are really, really open. Of course, I'm also open always to respond to that question. So first thing is, please ask questions and don't hesitate. This is going to be the first step towards the real, true transformation.
Questions lead to understanding.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. And, I think, Bina, if I add to what you're saying, we have a ridiculous openness to questions. Not just openness, but questions. Yeah, for us, questions, they transform us, they transport us, they shift us, they change us. It's a very
love notes from the universe.
There you go. That's part of Bina's story. Quote there. Yes. I love that, Bina. I love that.
Like that.
So we are transformed by questions. They really make a difference to us, and we take them very, very seriously, and they're very important to us, and we love them. So yeah. So I'm glad, Kevin, you joined. That's very cool. So please share if you have any thoughts, any perspectives, what you heard. You say, wow, this was cool. Wow, I think it's a lot of rubbish. You're just saying, or whatever. I don't know. I'm very open to any comments. It doesn't have to be positive. They can be any comment. So very cool. Very, very, very cool. So let me see something quickly. Rick also came and joined. Hey, brilliant. Hello, Rick. At least you gave a like there. So, and Jean Batista, and oh my goodness, Figures Nanti. That's a cool name, Nanti. I'll just call you Nanti because I don't know how to say figures. I don't know. But anyway, just people who liked. I'm just giving you a shout out. I appreciate you guys. being here and, giving a like. I know a lot of people come and they don't always click like because they don't want to change the algorithm, and I respect that also. But I do appreciate when you at least in some way, come and know and be here. I know, like Rick, he's busy, he can't always come. But I appreciate the support, Rick. I really do. It helps a lot. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. So very cool. Very cool. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Anything more to add, Bina, before we go?
No, not from my side. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Truly appreciate that.
Wonderful.
For having me on.
Wonderful. Oh, it was fun.
gonna
It
sign
was
off.
fun. Yeah. Wow. And
Thank
see,
you, sir.
so just before I go, I want to say something. See, I mean, you can probably hear it in me now. I'm right on just the edge of running out of energy. It takes a lot of energy to do this. Be aware, people. Be aware. So a lot of energy goes into what we're doing, right? Right, sure?
Oh, yes.
It's not a
Yes.
simple thing. It's not a simple thing. Okay.
Yes.
Brilliant. We'll catch you next time. We'll catch you next
Yes.
time.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye-bye, Vina.
Well, you can stay on Zoom, sure. We're
Okay.
still on Zoom.